We'll bring you in, but I think probably a friend of yours, Lobsang. Lobsang, we only have a few minutes left, so I know you can ask great questions. Can you ask a great and short question?
I'll try. It's propaganda essentially means battle of narrative, right? And then they win through internal validation or external validation. So there's censorship, they control everything. Internal, you can't do anything about people inside Russia, China, or in Iran. But external validation, right? That's problematic. We could do something. For example, China has banned Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. But the Chinese diplomats, they use all these tools to spread propaganda around the world. For example, when China was imposed 146% tariff, right? There's Ronald Reagan speaking against tariff. The video suddenly came out of nowhere of 1987 speech, which was spread by Chinese, right? Now, every Americans are watching Ronald Reagan speaking against tariff, right? But they don't know the source is Chinese. Now, how can we have reciprocity? You don't allow Facebook to have access, and why should you have Facebook access? Other point is elite co-optation. Right? So they co-opt journalists and intellectuals and politicians, businessmen outside. They speak for this regime, and people inside China or Russia, Iran are watching Americans, Europeans praising, the regimes. That external validation helps propaganda becomes more effective. For example, Jeffrey Sachs sees everything in America quite wrong, and everything about China is quite right, And then when Chinese people watch Inside, say, Nobel laureate praising China. And he doesn't speak about Tibet or, Hong Kong or Uyghur, Jeffrey Sachs. But he speaks about China's success, and America is supposedly jealous of China. That's why, they're imposing tariffs. So how do we tackle this external validation, especially elite co-optation?
Thanks. And I should point out that Lobsang was the leader of the Tibetan people in exile, and he's currently at Harvard Law School, I think.
I would say investment, because I was in another session prior to this session, and a Hungarian journalist was saying that Orban's government spends $1.2 billion every year for propaganda. And Hungary is not a big country. The Iranian government, the Russians, they spend billions of dollars. And at the same time, we see that the American government is shutting down VOA and Radio Liberty. So I think investment is very important. And one thing that Mikhail and I, we were talking before that, is the use of local languages for propaganda. In the past, before AI, it was not possible to address Urdu-speaking, Bengali-speaking, Arabic-speaking populations within Europe or the United States, North America, in their own language. Right now, with the with all the progress in AI, Russia and China and Iran, they can target those people through community channels, through websites, through radio channels, etc., in their own languages, so they have a better understanding of Iranian, Chinese, or Russian propaganda.
Thanks, Xiao, and also this will be your last word, so make it count, and I'll come back to
Okay.
One quick question in addition to what you're already going to say: is there any mileage, and perhaps I'll also come to Mikhail as your final point? Is there any mileage in President Trump essentially saying to the Chinese, "We're not cutting the tariffs with you until you stop this propaganda"?
Let me say this. Okay, I'll come back to President Trump. Let's say I agree with on that. For democracies, we need not only security but defense. We need narrative offense. And this offense is in full power with technology, with ambition, including Europe. Right now, on the AI side, it's only US and China. Europe should catch up. You must. Now let's come back to, well, before I talk about President Trump and President Xi Jinping, let's talk about President Václav Havel. Havel once said, the center of power is identical with the center of truth. And I believe that. The key of totalitarianism is to dissolve the distinction between truth and falsehood. Unfortunately, now look at the United States. President Donald Trump, every day, every tweet, is he dissolving the distinction between facts and falsehood? I think so. And there's many other leaders to do so. There is also a distinction, okay, between Trump and China. That after all, U.S. has institutions, term limits, and can provide meaningful constraints. But in China, when that dictatorship, President Xi Jinping, who actually, by the way, happened to be my childhood neighborhood, so I couldn't believe a neighbor boy become the biggest dictator in the world. The party is a law, the lie is a law. But it's not within just China. Now finally I come to the rising Chinese digital totalitarianism is a true threat globally. And that kind of web of deceptions, it's more than just filtering the information, but it's really creating a new sort of language world now eventually in every society when China finds it strategically desirable. And that is a threat we must defend.